Hello, and welcome to the First Issue Club, comic book podcast, where each and every week we read the number one first issues, we review them, we rate them, and you join us in the club every week.
A welcome back is in order.
Yeah, I'm back.
I just want to hug your face and pinch your cheeks till they're rosy red.
It's good to be back. Sorry for being gone so long. This is Budget King.
This is Mike D.
We're here, two of us, two dudes talking comics.
Two dudes. I don't know why I was like immediately, two dudes is a jingle. Or it demands one.
It feels like a jingle.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been gone for a minute. It was like, the December-ish blues, the January, New Year, vacation, all that kind of stuff. Been finding myself. Been on some discovery trips, all of that kind of stuff.
Soul searching?
Yeah, soul searching. This episode, just so everybody knows here, is raw in the flesh.
Right.
Yeah, straight to we cooked it and just served it out there.
You were busy. You were traveling. Greg couldn't record. Has a little bit of a...
Omicron hit everybody. Not that he has Omicron.
Well, we haven't confirmed.
And in fact, we've only confirmed he doesn't have it, but who the fuck knows anymore?
I know. I feel like anyone that's been sick lately, I'm like, you got croned.
You did, yeah. And, it's okay, I guess. It's going to be like the chicken pox, this wave at least. Who knows what's next for us?
Yeah.
So this week we are covering Bylines in Blood, an Aftershock book. That'll be the book we do. There's a handful of other books that came out.
List them.
Did you read any of them?
I don't think so. I read a ton of books the last couple of days. Avid listeners will know that I do monthly shipments on my comics.
Yes.
So I have like a Christmas once a month where I get a box full of like 60 comic books. And then I spend the entire weekend like just crushing comics. So I have a hard time keeping track of like what was last week's, what was 3 weeks ago. I don't know. I've read a bunch of comics.
Okay,
lately.
I'll name some number ones and maybe you read them.
Okay.
Did you read The Darkhold Omega?
I did not buy Darkhold Omega. It's like a Marvel event thing that will not matter.
Yeah, by Steve Orlando.
Yeah.
So, did you read Monkey Meat?
I bought it, but I haven't read it. That's a Junie Ba image comic that looks cool. Any punk rock image-looking comic I buy, I just haven't read it yet.
It was great.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah. It was like Ren and Stimpy meets like the Communist Manifesto.
Oh, I'm so in. Meets the Communist Manifesto. Great.
Did you read The Fourth Man on AWA Upshot?
I have not read it yet.
It's like
I love the cover.
Yeah. Do you know the premise?
I'm assuming it's like the cover is a parody of like a horror poster. So I'm guessing it's horror.
Yeah, it's like used cars dealer murder.
Okay.
Like thing.
Yeah, the the cover has like a crazy noodle guy.
Yeah.
For those waving machines.
Yeah. And I think the other book that was probably big was the next iteration of Batman came out.
I don't know what that is.
Just like
how would I miss a Batman thing?
Well, it's I want to say number 2, but it's actually like 119.
Oh, got it. Well, 118 started the new arc.
Yeah.
And then 119, that Batman book came out, which is like, we're going to get some real history on who Abyss is.
Right.
We covered 118 like a month ago.
Right. And then 119 comes out, and then Abyss comes and all that kind of stuff.
Yes. I'm very excited to read that. Haven't cracked it yet.
So herein lies my news.
Okay.
Did you know that last Wednesday, every single DC book that came out had one thing in common?
No.
Do you know it or do you not know?
I don't know. Is this like a riddle?
Kind of. Batman.
Batman was the only series, their spin-offs that came out?
Batman was in either the star or in every single book that came out last Wednesday.
That almost doesn't surprise me. There's too many Batman things.
It's coming up all Batman for DC. They got one thing they're betting on.
Let me go on record and say too much Batman stuff.
Too much, Batgirls, some Batman and Robin, the Chosen One or something like that, the Riddler or the Joker one, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
All this Batman shit. DC has like if you're this, you might get this because you invest in cryptocurrency. If
I do
all of
not.
your
Let
money,
me just be clear. I'm not a crypto bro.
if all of your money was in Ethereum, like it might sound like a good bet some weeks, but it's gonna rob you the next week. I know that. I know.
So
I know.
hopefully we're going on Batman hiatus next week is what you're saying. I can't handle this. Like I'm a fan of Batman, but there's only so many damn titles I can buy. And especially like all the like 12 issue series that they do lately, and some of them I think are limited, and then they just keep going and going. Way too much stuff. It's To me, it seems like it's not sustainable, but I guess it all sells, and it's just worth it for them to just keep inundating you with Batman stories.
I mean, it does sell, and then there's like you get to be your fan of the version of not Batman. So it's like I'm kind of a Robin guy.
Yeah, right.
I'm a Joker guy.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm really into the Penguin.
What's the Marvel equivalent of this?
Wolverine?
But I'll say at any given time, there's like 10 different Batman or Batman World books. There's not that of Wolverine.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe X-Men.
Yeah, but that would be like saying the Justice League for DC, right?
But I don't think there's near as many Justice League books as there are X-Men books.
Correct.
There's about as many Batman books as there are X-Men books.
Yes, but
if I had to put a character on par, it would be Spider-Man.
Right.
Spider-Man is as popular as Batman.
He was in your Darkhold Omega book, by the
Oh
way.
God! Now I gotta pick it up.
Yeah, Batman has a lot, or sorry, Spider-Man has a lot of things going on for him.
But not near as many spin-offs and titles as Batman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say X-Men.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's weird because X-Men is not one character, so it's but you're right. Although here's the other thing, X-Men is a lot harder to get into. That Batman's like just generic, like you can enter it.
I agree. I think that's some of the allure of X-Men is that it feels like it's a club,
Right.
and you want to be on the inside of the club.
Like crypto, which is kind of why you're into that.
Oh my God, I love it. Let me tell you about the coin of the week.
Oh, you're also into altcoins.
Yeah, every first issue club we have a Bitcoin coin of the week, or I guess crypto. Now you're learning
it's the same thing. There we go. Yeah.
Okay.
I would love people. Oh man, people would flock if we had an embedded like little coin, altcoin that we could recommend them to.
Yeah, great.
Speaking of altcoins, did you get any good Christmas presents? Comic related?
No, but I was thinking of treating myself to a couple things. Hear me out.
Oh, let's hear it.
There's an Alias omnibus that came out in December.
Okay.
And that was one of those things that like took forever for them to reprint it. And so it was always one of those things on eBay. The omnibus cost way too much money.
Right.
Which are, oddly, I think a lot of those large omnibus books are good investments.
Oh, yeah.
You can resell them for a decent amount of money.
And they're fun to read.
They are fun. This is the best way to read a comic is to just crush it all in a row.
My only complaint is, as a person storing comics, where do you put the giant ass hardback books? Like you have to have bookshelves.
Yeah. I know this is a conundrum. I mean, we're already running out of space as it is. But
Right.
I can at least throw these in like a guest room or something.
Yeah.
I've got a bookshelf in my guest room that I put this stuff.
Yeah, which is going to just turn into your hardback book room.
And then I've been tooling around with buying Captain Marvel #1. Not Captain Marvel #1. Miss Marvel number one. Yeah. I'm a big Carol Danvers fan. That's not the first appearance of Carol. She appeared in like a Captain Marvel featured book as a non-superhero, but her first appearance as a hero is Miss Marvel '1.
Ooh, I like that.
I've been thinking about buying it.
You've been also toying around with this Gerard Way.
Yes, National Anthem.
Is that what it's called?
I think so.
Okay.
It's a book that I've always been interested in, but like never picked up.
I thought it was like something like Lost Boys or something like that. It doesn't matter.
Lost Boys is a vampire movie. Hand over your nerd card.
And then you got your vinyl.
I finally got What's the Furthest Place from Here.
Yeah.
What's the name of that book?
Yeah.
Vinyl record that they released with the first issue.
Which
I pre-ordered like a year ago almost, and it finally came. So
it's like Joyce Manor and like
and one other
the lead singer from Jets to Brazil.
Yeah. So they're doing these 45 singles, and both sides of the 45 have a different song on it, and they're getting legit artists to do
Joyce Manor
tracks
is
for these.
nothing to fuck with.
No,
Yeah.
and neither is Jets to Brazil.
Yeah,
So,
well, I think sadly one of the members died of COVID. I could be wrong.
Oh, really?
Yeah, doesn't matter. But
It-
so it's emo inspired.
in any case, yeah, they're doing kind of like emo, indie, cool 90s rocker guy stuff, which is kind of the vibe of the comic book. I love that they're doing 45s and records for it. It seems like something that a lot of different comics try to incorporate music somehow and fail miserably at it. And this seems to be working so far. They've had a vinyl release or pre-order for every single issue so far, up to 4. And they're all colored vinyl. If you get them on pre-orders, most places from previews, you can get them for $10.
I've ordered all of them and
Have
have
you?
not received a single one yet.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about this. I like, as a person who casually buys vinyl and maybe listens to it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I love this because I'm actually gonna listen to the track.
Yeah, you have to be really intentional about listening to music when you buy a record.
Right. But here I'm like, oh, I want to hear that.
Yeah.
And it's like, seems like I should actually listen to it on vinyl. Now, I haven't heard them, but it'll say like the track and says like inspired by. So does that reference in the comic like they're doing a version of the song, or is it just like, is it original material? Not that this matters, but.
Now, I think I bet you anything, knowing the music industry as I do, I'm betting you anything that it's just like a B-side that they had around, and they were like, we're big fans, can you do something for
So
this
I thought the
project?
same thing, but they say like, when you look at the track listing, it says like inspired by. So it made me think it was an original track, just the way that they wrote it, which I'm like, how the hell did they afford that? That seems insane.
It does seem insane. Unless the person who wrote this is somehow connected in the music industry and just knows a lot of people.
To like all these indie labels and
we
shit?
just don't know.
Yeah,
You know
that could be it.
You know what I mean?
Because I'm like, if I'm Joyce Manor, I'm not like, oh God, I gotta be on an Image comic vinyl.
Do we need to go over why we're music guys?
Oh, we should.
Have we ever covered this on the podcast?
Want to rehash this? We've
Because
never talked about this.
We talk about music a lot, and maybe sometimes to the detriment of the podcast.
I think so. I think, yeah, absolutely.
That people are like, shut up and get to comic
It'd be like
books.
if we talked about golf, and they'd be like, what the fuck did I sign up for? Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, we could talk about it. We've talked about it on the Patreon a little bit.
Yeah.
We have a friendship
Uh-huh.
because we were both music bros in Kansas City.
Yeah.
I had a record label. You were in a band.
Yep.
We met at a showcase.
And listeners, you tell me what's cooler.
Oh, I'll tell you what. Playing an instrument is way cooler than throwing your high school graduation money at an LLC.
Oh, man. You didn't sign me, though.
We certainly tried, I think. I think you were too
No.
cool.
I don't think so.
We weren't going. Well, I mean,
That wasn't the route you were going.
you were.
I was a genre that I regret.
You were a little aggressive for what we thought was gonna print cash.
You were signing bands that were getting great reviews on Pitchfork. I was a fart in the wind to Pitchfork. But I did open for some okay bands.
Did you? Yeah. No, I know you did.
Mhm.
I was a fan of your band.
Yeah. Let me rattle some off for you.
I know. Could I try?
Go ahead.
The President of the United States of America.
A1 with a bullet. Probably the most popular band we opened for.
Taking Back Sunday?
Yes.
I would say they're more popular.
Than Presidents of the United States of America?
Yes, by far.
Did they ever like chart or anything?
Absolutely, I bet.
Taking Back Sunday charted.
I would have to imagine, yes.
Nah. Here's the craziest one. Really, really, really early on Thursday.
Oh, really? There you go.
Before they were famous. This was like, we played at a little punk venue in Kansas City called the El Torion, which no longer, the building's still there, but it's not like a rock venue anymore.
Right.
And in the summer when I was in high school still, we opened for them, and then they fucking blew up like 4 months later.
That's huge.
Yeah.
They're on a comeback tour. We don't need to get that weird into music.
Melt Banana.
Oh, there you go.
The
Hell yeah.
Get Up Kids.
Oh, of course. Hometown
Reggie and the
Heroes.
Full Effect.
Did you do Coheed?
Never Coheed and Cambria,
Okay.
no.
That would have been a little comic
Yeah,
crossover for
It
you.
would have.
No, My Chem?
Not My Chemical Romance. The Queers.
Okay.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. I went to a show where My Chem opened for Every Time I Die and some other band. They were like...
That's so fucking crazy.
Isn't that insane?
Yes.
And they were just like the goth emo band that everybody was like, this doesn't fit the bill.
Yeah, right.
Little did they know.
So shout out to all of our, I guess, hipsters that graduated between the new millennium and 2005.
Right.
You're right there with us on this stuff.
Yeah, and actually, if you were into this, then this is you should join the Patreon for this week only. We're going to go through the Spotify Wrapped list of your favorite comic book heroes.
Oh, yeah. So what would they listen to on their Spotify Wrapped?
Yeah. So each and every week, we got a Patreon. We do something special on there. That's what we're going to be doing this week. We also don't want to forget that this podcast is sponsored by...
the tastiest beer on earth. Boulevard Brewing Company's Space Camper Cosmic IPA.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Beautifully hoppy, wonderfully tasty.
Yep, it'll get you through any reading experience, any experience you don't want to be at, or any experience you want to ratchet up a little bit.
Hey, and I'll give another shout out for our Patreon. If you're a Patreon member, you can join our Discord. And on our Discord, I gave some secret history about this beer. It's closely tied to Marvel and some comic books.
Really?
Do you remember that conversation?
I do, vaguely.
There's a secret history to the Cosmic IPA that's comic book related.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Can we can't say that?
No,
Okay.
we can't say that.
I didn't realize that.
Only people on the Discord are allowed to know
Okay.
because we trust them.
Yeah. That Discord's fun, man. I love having it up. I'm a rare
Yeah, you pop in and pop out very rarely. You're one of those, what do they call the people
a
on
lurker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're a lurker.
But doesn't mean I don't partake. Cool. Well, it's good to be back in the saddle, back in the pod. This is the thing that keeps me going. We have an Aftershock book this week.
Without this podcast, we have nothing.
Yeah, I mean, you got jobs, you got kids, you got families, but podcasts are the real juice that gets you going. Just ask Rogan, Joseph.
So formal.
Yeah. Wait, I mean, he's got to tell you. What has he got going for him?
Podcast, yeah.
Yeah.
End of list. MMA, a little.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Fear Factor. But that podcast, I would say, is really what? News radio?
Bro, you going to eat these spiders or not?
Pour one out for Bob Saget.
65 years old. We still don't know how he died.
Yeah,
That's pretty young.
It is young. It's the age of my father. He tweeted 2 hours beforehand about his show.
Yeah.
I hope, if it was something sad, like he, overdosed or took his own life, that's super sad. You know what I remember him the most from? Or I mean, everybody says Full House.
Of course, Full House.
But do you remember he was in that Dave Chappelle movie where he was like, it's like, doctor says I need a backiotomy.
I don't know.
He had a crazy line in it. And then also Tourette's guy would also always say, the YouTube phenomenon would always say Bob Saget. There's a lot of memeable Bob Saget out there outside of just his TV shows, America's Dad and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, what's funny is that he was well known for being a crude comic before he got Full House.
Right.
And I think people think that he went off the deep end in response to being America's Dad. And kind of had like a Dustin Diamond freak out and over the top gross out humor. But he was well established in that prior.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks to like some of the
Him and Gilbert Godfrey were like,
oh my God, just like the lasting, just the bit that he like lived through and just was like always on. And The fact that it was just funny he was cast, like half the bit about Full House was that like it was funny because they casted him. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and we're too young to recognize that, but for people who were fans of comedy at the time, like
Okay.
that was, I think, part of the in joke on Full House.
Yeah.
Was like, oh, he's so crude, but he's like Family Guy here.
Right.
So
Well,
R.I.P. He's a really funny guy.
yeah. Sad about it, but okay. We have an Aftershock book. We don't get a lot of Aftershock books. Too much these days, but
I buy a lot of Aftershock #1s and a lot of Vault #1s. They're my two, like,
we're rooting for them.
we're rooting for them.
Yeah.
I've got one short box of Aftershock.
Do you?
Yeah. And then I don't have quite enough to fill an entire short box with
A Vault. Yeah.
But Aftershock is definitely there.
Vault would be like my NBA equivalent of the Thunder, where where it's like
Speaking my language.
yeah. So like they're not the team they might be the team that's closest to me, but we don't have a team here, and I'm just like I like them. Like I like Oklahoma City. I want them to win. I'm rooting for them.
Mm-hmm. They're charming.
But I like Aftershock too. They do cool shit. So we have a whole book. We did the whole episode to Bylines in Blood.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
If you don't know what a byline is,
yeah.
it's when you've written an article by so-and-so.
Okay, and then Blood.
Bylines in Blood.
Oh no, what is Blood? I didn't know.
Oh, blood. Have you ever seen, do you know what a helix is?
Oh yeah, okay.
So like imagine that times like 1 billion.
Oh, ooh.
And it makes a liquid.
Okay.
That's what blood
Okay,
is.
you would write that instead of ink.
Yes.
You write that in the helixes.
Mhm.
Okay. It's a world of what is the truth?
Oh, truth theorem.
Which you can't paint that world and people not be like, what's the parallel to today?
I know. This was one of my main conversation points for discussing this book. Was like, I read the about the creators page so many times trying to decode whether they were Republicans or Democrats, because I have no clue. But there's so many things in here about truth and the media, and it's like the whole book stems out of the pandemic.
Right.
So it's like, here's
I'm glad you mentioned that. I actually love that.
Yeah, here's the future that the pandemic created. And isn't it like a fucked up worst case scenario future kind of?
Right.
Or I don't know. It could be worse, I guess. But it's just a wild place to imagine where things have just gotten out of control and just no one trusts any media outlets worth a lick anymore. And there's even a fake ad once you finish the book. And you read this digitally, correct?
Oh, I may have missed the fake ad.
There's a fake ad and a faux article once you finish the book from this newspaper that gets referenced a lot throughout the comic book. And the fake ad is for a medicine, and it's a blue pill.
Oh.
And it's kind of like getting blue pilled in the truth and
Okay.
stuff like that. So I was like, is this book making fun of QAnon, or is this like alt-right true believers, like this is the world we want to live in sort of comic book? I don't know.
I think that
I have no concept.
I think the authors, there's two of them.
Yes.
Are taking a narrative vacation in the mind of how would you arrive at that conclusion and not be a crazy person?
Right.
And
I'll say you can certainly enjoy this comic regardless.
Yeah.
But I was just so interested in why these people chose to write this story. You know what I mean?
Well, okay, so I thought about this comic book in the context of like coming out on Wednesday and like the doldrums of like January and stuff like that, and how like unfortunately for this book it's gonna get passed over. I'll just say that it's like I don't think it's gonna get a ton of hype or love. The authors are like not, if they're listening to this podcast, which does happen, not completely celebrated to their full worth of what they should be.
No, this comic was so good. And you would think that on a week where not a lot of other stuff was happening, that a independent #1 issue would shine and get picked up a lot more than typical.
Right.
Not the case.
No.
People are just not going to their comic shops.
I think people are taking breaks right now.
Yes.
Of just
You're like new year, you're rethinking your budget.
and you
and-
rethink like this is the bullshit of like year-end lists
Mhm.
is like I love them. I don't know how you feel about them, but I OD on them.
Yeah.
And then like January, you're like, it's my fucking month off. Like nothing good is gonna come out because I gotta wait for a minute, except for the Weeknd's album.
Oh, we can't talk about it.
I-
Patreon.
Right.
If you want our takes on the new Weeknd album.
And so like, yeah, I just looked at this whole week and I was like, oh, Monkey, whatever it was, in this book, and then we kind of randomly landed on this book, but this book had everything.
Yeah.
It had, okay, so the main thing too is it's noir in
Big time.
and that like it's what's that called, a PI.
Mhm.
You're following a PI, which is a classic kind of comic book narrative, a whodunit, trying to and then avenge stuff. But she's a super badass, like Black Widow-esque, like kind of like violent person.
Yeah.
Breaks some knees, can twirl a gun backwards in case somebody's gonna stab her, and shoots them in their nuts.
I love that she's Jessica Jones-esque.
Yeah, right, that's a better, yeah.
In that she's got this crummy PI office that she falls asleep in, and people walk in while she's sleeping and surprise her, yada yada. And then we find out that she's also from really wealthy parents, and she's kind of rejected, like taking money from them and living up to their expectations and stuff like that. So that's we did a lot of character building in this, and we did a shit ton of world building. When it first dropped us in, I was like, whoa, so many things going on, and I can't get my footing or bearing as to where I'm at. But once I got about 5 pages in, I really appreciated how they just dropped me in and let me kind of like absorb and soak in how big and established the world was.
Can I tell you that I think when an independent book has 2 authors on it, it almost certainly is going to be written better.
Sure.
Which seems obvious, right?
Yep.
But I think the reason is that independents don't really have the editing protocol that the big 2 does.
And people don't self-edit themselves very well.
Not very well, especially image books.
Yeah.
No offense, Image. So when you have 2, you have this natural editing relationship.
Yeah.
That like I felt the dialogue was like, although verbose, very smooth.
Yep.
And like kept you going, like and was I thought like witty and fun.
Yeah.
And interesting.
Yep. There's a point at which someone like quotes a philosopher and uses a really corny line, very common in comic books, and especially like a heady author trying to like show their smarts, but then the lead character immediately shoots them down and is like, "Come on, we're doing this. We're like quoting philosophers now. Like, get your head out of your ass."
Yeah.
Like I love that exchange.
It was great. And then the book has like a kind of a turn. I would say like 75% of the way in, where it has this whole new world that expands on what the world is.
Right.
Surveillance world or whatever, and kind of the juxtaposition to it all. That to me, it was like, oh, this is crazy now. Like, I kept on comparing it to Brian K. Vaughan's Private Eye.
I see what you're saying a little bit.
In that,
just
like,
in the fact that it's like a noir future,
and that like the independent detective is like a thing that people assume exists and stuff like in the future. So, this book, like, I guess for having no expectations at all,
and knowing nothing about it going in was very fun.
Yeah,
finding out what the book was about. The aspect of it I love is that people are starting to buy these like personal drones that follow them around, because so much of the book is based on truth and the lens that you see truth through, and the only thing that is true is what I believe.
Yeah.
And the population and world has evolved to say, I'm going to have this little hovering ball or a webcam strapped to my shoulder at all times, because what I see is true. And if I see it, I want proof.
Totally.
And you're going to see the world through my lens.
So, in my house,
Okay.
we have five Alexas.
Okay.
Just kind of weird, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm sure.
I don't know. I don't have a one, but I wonder, how would my life be different if I had an Alexa?
I work in the radio industry,
Yeah.
so it's easy for me to have them there. Or like it seems like I should have them.
Yeah.
We're looking into getting like a babysitter to help us with things.
Mhm.
And we increased our surveillance cameras in our house by 5 yesterday.
Wow.
Just to have one in every room.
Mm-hmm.
Which it just occurred to me. It was like, is this the new? So now we're interviewing babysitters from like a website.
Yep.
And then in that interview, we tell them, hey, not to be weird, we just want to be upfront.
Yep.
But every room has a camera in it.
Yep.
That seems like a thing that wouldn't have happened 5 years ago. Like you would have been like,
No.
what the fuck?
Totally.
But now it just is like, just so you know, like we're not
This house is basically the Big Brother house.
we're not spying on you, but like, you know, if we're gonna be home and you're gonna be alone with our kids, we will have the ability to look at you.
Yeah.
And that's like, I don't know, seems weird.
Yeah.
Or like, like if you told me that 15 years ago, I'd be like, what?
These people are insane.
Yeah.
You would think.
Did
right?
I did that for $70.
That's nothing.
Yeah, right.
That is nothing.
Outfitted my house to like be, you know, panic room.
Right.
For 70. And so I feel like with these comic books, which always happens, it's like it is a little bit of the actual day and age that we live in.
Yeah.
I loved the way they reference the pandemic here.
Yeah.
They don't have the masks. That just is like, it is a thing that happened. And it's like, I wanted to see comic books do this. We've been in this motherfucking doldrums of the pandemic forever.
Yeah.
Everybody's aged 10 years into, and the comic books like this need to just casually reference it.
Yes. Well, the interesting thing is that the cover of the book has our main character unmasked at the center, and she's the only pop of color in the entire cover, and then everyone around her is masked. Another thing where I was like, are these people all right, anti-mask? And they were like, here's our hero not wearing a mask.
Let's go on record. If these authors come out as anything, you know, right of left, then we have no problem throwing them off the cliff. See ya. Goodbye. I have no association with you whatsoever. This is an alt-right book. I don't like it anymore. I'll just go ahead and preordain that.
There you go. It puts an interesting tinge in your mouth, doesn't it? That like if the agenda of this book is to be like trophy culture sucks. Like the whole, which by the way, have you heard that new Kid Rock song? I guess it's not new anymore.
The one that came out,
Yeah, but even still, it's like
month and a half ago or something.
I'm like, dude, 60-year-olds picture like children your kids' age just like waking up and walking through their own fucking Hall of Fame. Like how much do normal kids get trophies? Like not at all. And it's like Kid Rock's like it's like so many people's like point of like, this is why the future is fucked.
Totally.
Is because of trophies for kids. And it's like, kids don't get trophies that often.
Come on.
You haven't had a kid in like 40 years. Like, you don't understand what having a kid is like. And they're not being like lauded with trophies.
No, we make no
constantly.
beefs about this. So I'm just going to say this. Republicans live in a pillow world where their reality is fucking debased and not in touch with the actual world. The fact that they're
unedited episode, baby.
The fact that they're like, this is a whole thing. Like, there's a book called New Kid, which is, you know, comic book adjacent. It's essentially just about a black kid going through school or whatever. In Texas, they're calling that critical race theory, and they don't want it in there anymore.
Yeah.
You know, if that's not a snowflake, what is? And so that's gonna poison your kid's mind. So like, yeah, I mean, that whole like reality of I don't mask, I don't vax, like. It's weird to me that got politicized, you know. We used to just say, like, you're just bad at science.
Yeah, right.
But to people's points, which I saw one of our mutual friends posted this, like
Well,
about getting vaxxed a bunch and then still getting COVID,
yep.
with Omicron. We don't know everything, so I don't know
Yep.
everything. I'm certainly not a scientist.
Right. And it's like you got a vaccine and you still got COVID and you lived through it. Fucking congrats. Your vaccine worked, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get it. Some people, Jesus Christ.
But I love a good week like this with comics, where it's just is like it feels like my week where I'm like everything I read
Uh-huh.
is like gonna be fun because it's like I'm not seeing anything hyped anywhere.
Yeah.
The most hyped book was the Batman, I guess, Batman 119. So I don't know. This was fun. It's good job, Aftershock.
Yep.
It's fun to read a good Aftershock book.
I agree.
The written word. Praise for the written word.
And the truth. Hey, raise a glass to the fucking truth,
Hell
dude.
yeah, the truth, baby.
Cheers.
Yeah. What is truth anyway? That's the write up for this comic book just constantly said like, what is truth? We might have just endorsed the next Punisher, but who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Right now, I love it, and the next book is a
The cover looks cool.
assassin or killer in this city where our star lives, hunting her down specifically, knowing that she's researching the murder of her one-time mentor, and someone doesn't like that, and they're trying to take her down. So this is going to quickly escalate. It's probably going to be like bigger than we expected, and all these like organizations and big time politicians are going to be involved, and it's going to be very political. And
Is this your next Jetsons?
oh, I'm going to be so into it, just like I was the Jetsons DC run.
Right, where we had to figure out what painting.
Oh, that was really funny. The painting was so bad that
So
they revealed in
innocuous.
that.
Yeah. But yeah, cool. We've also been just doing one book, which you maybe have noticed as an audience.
Yeah,
and,
normally we do two.
I kind of like it. I think it's kind of rad to just like dive in deep on one thing.
Yeah, we'll
So,
see. I guess let us know what
yeah,
you think.
that's what I'm saying. Let us know if you hate it. If we need to go back to 2. If you're not getting your full Big Mac because we pulled out a patty.
Yeah,
I think that's how big a Big Mac is.
that's 2 patties. Is
Yeah,
that what
2
you're saying?
patties.
Okay.
Yeah, so you just get 1 patty in the Big Mac.
Gotcha.
And that's pissing you off. You let us know. Straight on Twitter. Greg will take care of you.
Mhm.
He'll let you know what's up on the Big Twit Dog or Instagram, any of those things.
Great. I'm ready to wrap it up and head to the Patreon.
Yeah,
What
that was
about
my
you?
natural end. That was like my shout out to the socials.
Okay, great. So me too, dude.
Oh, yeah, very natural.
Okay, great. Now we're ending in a fight now. Okay, bye, I guess.
Bye.
First Issue Club is brought to you by Boulevard Brewing Company via Space Camper Cosmic IPA. Our music is courtesy of the fine folks at Primary Color Music. You can find, friend, and follow us on social media at First Issue Club or firstissueclub.com. You can support First Issue Club by joining us on our Patreon for additional content at patreon.com/firstissueclub.